So, good afternoon to everybody. We will start in 2 minutes. We are just waiting for some more people to join the webinar. I have inputted some remarks on the chat box, mainly the fact that the questions will take place at the end of the presentation. So feel free to take some notes during the presentation, and at the end you will be able to write your questions on this question and answer box, and I will answer them to the best of my abilities, being questions regarding our universities or the CALDO services. So let's just wait a couple more minutes to see if more people join, and we will start in 2 minutes. So I would like to welcome everybody to this webinar. In this webinar, we will be talking a bit about the CALDO services and the CALDO universities. My name is Paulo Carvalho, and I am the placement manager for CALDO. So if by any chance you have contacted CALDO previously, it's very likely that I was the one that that replied to your email, since I am the point of contact for students that have questions on our university's programs and the CALDO services in general. So the first thing that we will talk about in this presentation is basically, why should you choose Canada to do your studies? Canada, as most people know, is a country that it's known to be very tolerant and with a very cultural, with a very diverse cultural background. So Canada is basically a nation of immigrants. You have people from all over the world in Canada, so it's very easy to feel comfortable in this country, because you are able to meet people from all over the world, and I'm sure that you will very easily find someone from your home country. Just a quick note: this broadcast is being made to both Peru and Ecuador. So we may have people from both countries during this presentation. Another thing that it's relevant in the why to choose Canada is the fact that our universities are recognized worldwide, so you will have no problem in getting your credentials recognized anywhere in the world. Canada is also one of the countries among the G7 group that invests the most in research and development at the research level at the universities. And it has the added benefit that it's considered to be a bilingual country. So if you wish, you can either study in English or in French. When we are talking about the Canadian academic system, we need to make the separation between master degree programs and doctoral programs. So CALDO aims at assisting students to apply to what it's called the graduate programs. So graduate programs are either master's or doctoral programs. In the master programs, you have two specific types of programs that you may find in Canada. What it's called the professional or course-based masters and the research-based masters. The main difference is that basically in the course-based masters, you usually don't need to write a thesis in the second year. So those courses are usually of 1 year duration. And you might need to do a small project, but it's not the same as doing an end of the year thesis. On the other hand, the research-based master, you will have to do a thesis at the end of the program, and that thesis needs to be defended towards a jury of professors. So that's the main difference between the two types of masters. And the research base usually takes up to a maximum of 2 years. The doctoral program, it's a much more research-based program, and it takes place during a period of 4 years. During that period, you are usually working with a professor, that will be your supervisor, and you are mostly engaged in doing research. You have some courses, so you have some classes that you need to take usually in the first and the second year, but for most of the time and during the first year until the end, you will be involved in doing research. One of the things that several people ask is the fact, can I apply to a doctoral program directly from my bachelor's degree without having a master? Usually, it depends on the departments of the universities, but it's not very frequent that happens. So the professors usually, they prefer to have students that come from a master program, and only after finish their masters they go into a doctoral program. And this is mostly based on the demanding of the research that you will need to do in a doctoral program. But obviously, if you're wanting to do a master degree, you don't need to worry about this, because as long as you finish your bachelor degree in Peru or Ecuador, you should be able to undertake a master's degree in Canada, as long as your university is recognized in your home country. You should have no problem. Some quick facts about CALDO. CALDO is comprised of 9 universities. So 9 universities decided to create this office to assist students that want to come to do their graduate studies in one of the universities. And they created this office that aims to assist students in applying to the university, and also in getting a supervisor should they be applying to a master thesis or a doctoral program. One of the things that it's important to realize is that our universities are what it's called research intensive, meaning that they devote a huge amount of resources, of money, into research. So that you have an idea, in 2014, $2.3 billion were used by our universities for research purposes. This money is either used by the researchers to develop the research that they are doing, so to buy materials or to attend conferences, but they are also used to sponsor students. So what this means is the following. Several universities only accept, for example, doctoral students if they bring either financing from their home country, or if the supervisor agrees that you will pay for the student to study. So if you are a very good student, it's very likely that a professor is willing to pay for you to come to Canada. So you will basically pay from his research funds your scholarship, and you will do all your either 4 years of doctoral or 2 years of master without having to pay for for the tuition fees during the time of your program. Our universities also are highly ranked in what it's called International Universities Rankings. So just for you to have an idea, in the top 150 programs in the world, 83 of those are from our universities. And our universities offer a total of 1,700 graduate programs, meaning that between master programs and doctoral programs, you have a huge variety of choice. That is why our universities are also called comprehensive universities. So I've noticed that someone asked the question. I'm just gonna do a quick reminder that all the questions I will be answering them at the end of the presentation. Another interesting aspect from the slide, from this slide, is the fact that recently there was a study done by HSBC, the bank, that considered that Canada was the country for which it was most affordable to do your graduate studies. So when compared to the other 3 English-speaking countries, so the United States, Australia, and UK, they found that Canada was the country that you would need to spend less money to study when compared to the others. Looking at the map of Canada and taking into account that Canada is the 2nd largest country in the world, you will see that our universities are spread across the west and the east of the territory. You will see that in the west side, you will find the University of Saskatchewan, the University of Alberta and Calgary, and in the west side, you will find the University of Dalhousie, the one that is further in the east, the University of Laval in the province of Quebec, and then in Ontario you have Ottawa, Queens, Western, and Waterloo. Let's take a brief look at each of our universities so that you have an idea of what they offer. So let's start with the University of Alberta. The University of Alberta is one of Canada's top 5 research universities and ranks usually among the top 100 universities in the world. It's located in Edmonton, and it has several areas of expertise. So just just as highlights, I just mentioned here that it's considered to be the 31st best universities in the program of pharmacy and pharmacology. It is considered to be the 91st best university in the faculties of life sciences and medicine. So they are recognized in general for having a lot of expertise in different fields, so energy, health, and overall, they are considered to be a very highly ranked university worldwide. In this university, you will find around 220 graduate programs. So between masters and PhDs, you have a choice of 220 programs. Next, we have the University of Calgary. The University of Calgary, it's also located in the province of Alberta. And this university, it was ranked as being one of the top universities in the world with less than 50 years. So the University of Calgary was established in 1966, so it's a very new university, and it's considered to be one of the top world universities with less than 50 years. The University of Calgary, also as the University of Alberta, has an excellent reputation in the fields of life science and medicine, as well as energy. Both the University of Calgary as the University of Alberta, they focus on clean energy. So they are located in the province that is where the oil sands are explored in Canada. So they undertake a lot of research into trying to develop clean ways of exploring the oil in the province. This university offers a total of 198 graduate programs, and it is considered to be the 9th university in terms of the Canadian ranking of universities. Next, we have the University of Dalhousie. The University of Dalhousie is located in the city of Halifax, and it was established in 1818. So it's one of the oldest universities in Canada, and it is specialized in very different areas such as clean energy, agriculture, life sciences, but probably the most relevant field for Dalhousie when compared to all the other universities is the field of oceanography or ocean studies. This university has developed a worldwide reputation in the fields of studying the oceans and marine life in general. Next, we have the University of Laval. The University of Laval is the university located in the province of Quebec. So if you're interested in studying in French, this is probably your best choice. It is located in the wonderful city of Quebec City. It's one of the most highly regarded cities in Canada because it has a very unique architecture. It's very much like an old European city. And it is a university that it's recognized by its facilities. It has some of the best facilities in Canada, especially, for example, sports complexes. So if you're interested in studying things related to sports, they have very good facilities, stadiums, and things like that. And they also have a highly reputation in the fields of forestry. So the exploration of forests is also a very big field for the University of Laval. In the University of Laval, you will find an amazing 284 choices between master's and PhD programs. So they have basically courses for everything, programs for everything. And they, in 2014, they devoted around $325 million for research in the year of 2014. Next, we have the university that it's located in the capital city of Canada, Ottawa. So since this is located in the capital city of Ottawa, and since Canada is a bilingual country, this is the world's largest bilingual university, bilingual in terms of French and English. University of Ottawa operates around 40 research centers, and basically it has leading expertise in things such as medical areas, and also areas related to policy studies or political studies. Since it's located in the capital, they have developed a wide expertise of programs in the fields of political science and policy making or public administration. Next, we have the University of Queens. The University of Queens, it's located in the city of Kingston in the province of Ontario. And the University of Queens is a university that, although it's not considered to be a big university in terms of size, it is a university that has a very big reputation in Canada. They have been around for a long time. They were established in 1841, and they have won several prizes. The most recent one was the 2015 Nobel Prize of Physics that a professor from Queens won. They also have a huge expertise in different areas such as geography and areas research, as well as in the health areas in general. The next university is the University of Saskatchewan. The University of Saskatchewan is located in the city of Saskatoon, and they have a very specific expertise in the field of veterinary science and agriculture. Actually, they are considered to be the 47th best university in the world in the areas of veterinary. So if you are thinking on undertaking some studies in this area, this is definitely a university to consider. They also have a lot of expertise in the area of agricultural and food sciences. So the province of Saskatchewan in general is considered to be a province related to agriculture. So the university the University of Saskatchewan has developed a lot of expertise in this area. So they do a lot of research into new types of food, new types of seeds, how to make agriculture more sustainable, and also the other aspect related to animals and animal well-being. Moving on to the University of Waterloo. The University of Waterloo is located in the city with the same name, Waterloo. And it is a university that its focus it has a huge focus on the areas of technology. So probably you have heard about BlackBerry. So the BlackBerry brand and concept was arised from the University of Waterloo. A lot of students from Waterloo are recruited to work in very highly regarded companies such as Google or other companies like Twitter or Facebook, because this university has a huge reputation in the areas of IT, information technology. They rank 24th in the world in the areas of computer science and information systems. They rank 20th in the world in the areas of mathematics, 48th in the areas of geography, and 57th as an overall faculty of engineering and technology. So if you have a focus of studying something related to computer science or even areas of mathematics applied to computer, quantum physics, things very specific related to the technological fields, this is an excellent choice. They have overall 135 programs between masters and PhDs, so there's a lot of choice that they offer. The only thing that they are not an option is if you want to do medical studies. They don't have a faculty of medical studies. That's the only thing that they don't offer. Finally, the University of Western. The University of Western is located in London, but London, Ontario. So the University of London is a university that ranks highly in fields such as psychology and business. So the University of Western was recently, in 2015, was considered to be the best university where you could undertake an MBA. So if you're interested in studying Master in Business, this university is probably as best as it gets. They ranked first in the Bloomberg Business ranking for 2015 as the best school for business where you can take an MBA. By the way, the University of Queens ranked 8th on the same ranking. So both universities, Western and Queens, are probably the top universities if you're thinking to study at the MBA level. But Western University also offers other excellent choices in the areas of neurosciences and engineering in general. They are very strong in the areas of brain and mind imaging, like you see in the slide, and they have a huge reputation also in the fields of engineering in general. So this being said, why should you choose a CALDO university? Like we were mentioning, all of our universities have a lot of expertise in very different fields. From the humanities, business, engineering, health, you will find programs that are excellent in any of our universities. Sometimes the choice is more related to the type of supervisor that you're looking for than the type of program, because they mostly they offer the same programs, all of them. So they offer a huge variety of programs. Another thing that it's important to realize is that all of our universities are used to receive international students. So they are used to welcoming international students in their campus, doing what it's called Induction Week. It's a first week where students are introduced to the main services in the universities. And the services that the universities offer are very, very broad. So you have services, for example, to help you with academic writing if you are not comfortable with writing, for example, in English or in French. They also have services of support. So if a student is coping, has difficulties coping with the fact that he's away from home, because obviously if you're doing a PhD, you will be for years in Canada. So they also have services to assist students that are eventually having some issues with adaptation. And also they have services of language. So if you need some sort of improvement in your language level skills, all of our universities have language schools that assist you in that regards. Recently, there was a study done where, or not a study, it's more like a ranking that was published on which were the best, or the top 200 universities that had the best rankings of employability worldwide. And 4 of the CALDO universities were mentioned there. So the University of Waterloo, Alberta, Queens, and Calgary were mentioned in this study of employability. Obviously, this does not mean that if you study in any of the other universities, you will have a hard time getting a job. Is not the case, because, like I said, for example, the University of Western is world leader in MBAs. The University of Saskatchewan is one of the best in agricultural and veterinary sciences. But this was just based on the overall ranking, the fact that 4 of our universities were included, which is very, very prestigious for the CALDO consortium. Moving a bit on to the services that we provide. So what can you expect from CALDO, and why should you use CALDO? So first of all, CALDO is not an office outside of the university. So we are not a private entity. We belong to the university. So our services are free. You don't need to pay for our services. And our services are basically, for students, our services are basically in 2 major areas. First, assisting them in getting to know which program is most suitable for them, and also which supervisors are available, or getting in touch with the supervisor, which is usually the case. We help students first getting to know which supervisors are available, and afterwards to facilitate the contact. Sorry. The other service is what we call the day-to-day services that we provide to students that are already in Canada. So our services do pertain students that are applying, but also students that are already in our universities. So even when you're here, we still assist you in things that you may need, especially if you're a sponsored student, meaning that if you are bringing a scholarship from your home country and from an agency that we have an agreement with. So for example, if you're from Peru, we have agreements with Pronabec, CAREC, and CARELEC. If you are from Ecuador, we have agreements with Cenecit. And these agencies, they provide scholarships for students to study abroad. For example, information services that we provide. Most students, when they decide to come to Canada, they don't have any idea of what sort of expenses they should be expecting. So for example, we assist students in getting an idea of the type of expenses that they will need to undertake while they are in Canada. And we assist them with things, for example, just to give them ideas of how much per month they might need if they live in different cities. Additionally, one of the great things about CALDO is that if you're bringing financing from your home country, either financing from a scholarship or even from your own personal funds, or from a loan that you get, we are able to, you are eligible to apply to our pre-screening service. What this means is that this is a free service for which you submit a specific type of documents that we require. So usually it's your CV, the proficiency test in English or in French, depending on the university, and your transcripts. So the courses and the grades that you got in your bachelor degree. And you tell us, I'm interested in studying in this program at Western, in that program at Laval, in that program at Alberta. And we get in touch with the university on your behalf and with the supervisors that you chose to see if they are willing to work with you. And all of this is done for free, which, if this wasn't the case, if you were not eligible for this service, you would need to formally apply to each university to have your credentials, your academic credentials assessed, and for the university to let you know if you meet the minimum requirements to apply or not. So this is an excellent way of saving money and time. So usually, which are the steps for this CALDO pre-assessment? So the first thing that we need to know is basically if you're bringing some financing from your own country. Okay, you don't need to have the scholarship yet. You just need to tell us if you are thinking on applying to any scholarship. So that's the only thing that we need to know at the first stage. Afterwards, you need to gather the documents that are mentioned there: your academic CV, language proficiency, transcripts, and statement of research. So this statement of research is another thing that we might provide you with assistance. For example, providing you some templates for you to write your research, your statement of research. Yeah, it's basically a one-page document, two-page maximum, where you tell a supervisor what do you intend to study should you apply to a thesis, master's, or a doctoral program. And then we have a platform that allow you to send all this information in a very structured and easy way. Another useful resource for you is our website. You can find our website at www.caldo.ca, and in our website you have tabs on the top that allow you to retrieve a lot of information on what our services are, what our university's programs are. And then in this big button here, start the application process, is where you access our database to get to start your application process. However, please do not start your application process without first sending us an email and making sure that you know exactly which program are you applying to, which university, and which supervisors, because all of this information is required. And if you don't provide it, we are not able to send the information to the universities. Like I said at the beginning, this presentation is aimed at people from Peru and people from Ecuador. In Peru, we work with an entity called PRONAVEC. PRONAVEC is an agency that issues scholarships for students to study abroad. And they recently launched another call for students to apply to universities worldwide. So this is the Beca Presidente da República, where they are offering 50 scholarships for master or doctoral programs in the universities worldwide. So this is actually a screenshot from the page where you can access the information on how to apply. One important thing, the PRONAVEC has some restrictions in terms of age. So if you are over 36 years, unfortunately, you cannot apply to a doctoral program. And if you are over, I believe it's 32 or 33, I'm not entirely sure, but you are not able to apply to a master's scholarship. Okay, so if you go to the website and you click on this link, you will be redirected to all the scholarship rules that you need to know in order to see if you are eligible to apply. If you are from Ecuador, the entity that you should be gathering the information is called CENESIT. So this is the link of where they advertise their scholarships, and they haven't yet launched the calendar for 2016. They should be doing it soon, but if you go to the website, you can see the regulations for the 2015 call, and those should be pretty much the same as for the next call for 2016. So just make sure that you write down this internet address, and you are able to get some information on the type of scholarships that they provide. We will be providing this presentation to everyone that is attending, so don't worry. Afterwards, you will have access to this so that you can read it more carefully and eventually access these websites. So the last thing that I would like to know, just to finish the presentation, is for all questions regarding university programs, please send me an email to graduate.coordinator@caldo.ca. Like I said previously, our universities have a total of 1,700 programs. So it's not easy for me to be giving specific advice on programs during webinars, because usually I need to go to the university's websites to validate some information. I can definitely answer questions in general regarding to programs. But for example, admission requirements, I'm not able to do it because of the reason that I just mentioned, the quantity of programs and the fact that they all have different admission requirements. However, one thing is important for you to know. When you are applying from a country that is not an English-speaking country, you will always need to show a test of proficiency in English, or if you're applying to a French University of French. So the tests that are usually accepted for this are the TOEFL, IBT, or the IELTS academic versions. Okay, so those are usually the tests that people have to present for applying to our universities when they did not study in an English-speaking country or in an English-speaking university. So right now, let's open the discussion to the questions and answer. And I already have some questions here that I am going to address. So first of all, Rosario, I'm going to write my email in the chat box so that everyone can have access to it. So my email is the one that you see in the last slide. Okay, so when you send an email to this address, I will be the one answering it. And like I said, you can send emails regarding anything that you may have questions about our university's programs or the requirements to apply. Okay, so initially Cesar Rios asked the question, my university is Pontificia Universidad Católica de Peru. I studied electronical engineering and also an MBA. Is MBA valid as a master's degree? Well, Cesar, it depends on what you want to study afterwards. I'm assuming you're asking that if you want to apply to a doctoral program. Usually what happens is the following. Your master program needs to have some sort of relation with the doctoral program that you are applying to. So if you're applying to a program that it's outside business area, that it's, for example, related to your Bachelor of Electronical Engineering, it will depend on the supervisor, honestly. There is no rule about that. So the supervisor is the one that will, in the end, define if you are eligible or not to apply. Another question that I have here. So one of the things that, okay, that's what I was going to say. One of the things that you need to do is write down your questions, okay? Because since I cannot hear you, you will need to write down your questions. So Cesar Rios once again asked, I am 38 years old. Is my age a factor that universities consider for admission and for financial aid? So like I said, the universities, they actually are not very picky on the age of the students. To be honest, as long as the student is a good student, it's not because of the age that they are not accepting the student. So for the university, that's not a problem. But like I said, for the scholarships, some scholarships do not allow students to apply after a certain age, like I stated, for example, the Pronabec scholarship. So another question, Arturo. Arturo Valencia, I can afford, sorry, 20,000. It's winter in Canada, so I'm sorry, but that's why I'm coughing. I can afford 20,000 on my own. Is that enough to cover a master PhD program? I am 37 years old. So for a PhD, definitely that will not be enough if you're just relying on that amount, $20,000. So you need to see two main aspects. The first aspect is the tuitions fees that you need to pay. So in Canada, we have a system of tuition that it's based on if the student is domestic, is Canadian or not. So if he's not Canadian, he will pay a higher fee than a Canadian student. For a master program, I would say that based on the cost of tuition, probably 20,000 would be enough for you to pay the tuition for probably almost the 2 years of study. You will probably would need a bit more to pay the tuition for the full 2 years, but it also depends on the universities. Some of our universities have higher tuition than others, so in some universities that would be more than enough, while for others that would not be enough. So if you want, Arturo, I suggest that you send me an email and we can discuss that further. Fritz Nunes asking, how can I choose a supervisor? So Fritz, for you to choose a supervisor, usually we help you by directing you to the website of the university where you can find the name of the professors for the department that you're interested in. So as a rule of thumbs for everyone, online you can find in the departments the name of the professors that are willing to work as supervisors. Most of the students are not able to find that information because the universities of the websites of the universities are a bit complicated. They have a lot of information. So we are here to assist you should you need that information. So once again, Fritz, feel free to contact me if you're not able to find the name of the supervisors. So questions are coming very quickly. I'm a bit behind. So Rosario, I took the TOEFL in 2013. Is it okay? The TOEFL and the IELTS, Rosario, they are valid for 2 years after the date that you took them. So if you took them in 2013, unfortunately, they expired in 2015. So you need to retake that test again. Roberto, the deadline for a program is 15 January 2016. If I send my application via CALDO. So the CALDO application, Roberto, does not replace the deadline of the university. So what always counts is the deadline of the university. We cannot change that. So students need to send their information always with enough time to meet the deadline of the university. So for example, if someone is aiming at 15th of January, you should send that information to CALDO at least 1.5 months before, so that you have enough time to get your admission letter. So in that case, Roberto, we unfortunately we are not able to postpone that deadline. Sorry, Rosario, I'm not understanding your question. English program that is help with the English requirements. Paola is asking, can I work and study, or can I while doing a doctoral? So when you come to Canada, you will come to Canada with a student permit, with a or student visa. The student visa allows you to work for 20 hours a week. Okay, so you will be able to study and work up to 20 hours a week. Well, you will be able to study for the whole time. Just to work is 20 hours a week maximum. Pedro, hello, Paul. When start the application and classes? So Pedro, the applications and classes, those are two different things. So the application is the process where you are basically trying to get admission to a program. Okay, so the application is usually several months before the classes start, usually 5-6 months before the classes start, depending on the departments. So what you need to do is basically have an idea of which are the programs that you're interested in, see which are the deadlines for applying. So just to give you an idea, classes that start in September, usually the deadline to apply is between end of January, February. Classes that start in January, the deadlines are usually mid-year, so June, July. But once again, this is not a fixed rule. So, so Roberto, do I need to identify a supervisor because sending the application via CALDO? Yes. So you don't need to find a supervisor before sending the application to CALDO. We can do it together. Okay. So if you're one of the things that the CALDO services does is assist students with finding the supervisor. Okay. So you don't need to find it before coming to us. Just a moment. I'm trying to catch up. This is. So once again, just to finish, Roberto. You mentioned that according to some university that it's not necessary. So the supervisors are not necessary if you're not applying to a course-based master's or to yeah, well, sorry, just the course-based master's. The thesis-based master's and the PhD, you will need a supervisor. Stefani, I already have the TOEFL. I want to start the application. I'm in time to start my studies in September. So, like I said, Stefani, it depends on the department. But either way, you can always send me your emails for those cases. Even if you're not sure, send me the emails, and we will get in touch with the universities if needed to seek clarification on deadlines. Okay, so don't feel shy to send us emails, because we're here to try to assist you in figuring out which is the best way for you to gain an admission letter. So which are the requests, asks Pedro. So Pedro, the requests, they vary by program. So some programs, they request a minimum GPA, for example, from your bachelor of a specific grade, or they request a minimum grade of the English tests, for which if you don't meet them, you will probably need to retake the test until you meet the minimum requirements. Other programs, for example, computer science in Waterloo, it's very competitive. So they also require the GRE test. So that is not very common for universities to require the GRE or the GMAT. Those usually are more for business type programs, but it happens sometimes when when programs are very competitive. So going back, so Brian Maldonado, yes, you will need the TOEFL. Yes. If you think it this way, the universities are English-speaking universities. So if the professors don't know, if they are not sure that you understand English, obviously you are not able to do the assignments. You are not able to do a thesis in English. So obviously they need to be reassured that you have the minimum requirements, and they set a specific type of tests, and the TOEFL is one of them. Walter Lopez, you ask if it's possible to obtain a letter from one university to begin studying in 2017. Definitely, Walter. For 2017, you have more than time to apply. So feel free to contact us, and we can start that whenever you're ready. Daniel Hernandez. Good night, I'm Daniel. I'm from Lima, Peru. I'm 25. I study geography. It's nice to meet you. What time of the year starts the call for master in these universities? So the programs, they don't all start at the same time. So depending on the type of program that you want, the applications, they might start in different periods. However, classes usually start either in September or in January. Okay, so for classes, it's easy. It's either September or January. But for applications, like I said, it can be, for example, the end of January or February, or if you're starting your classes in January, it could be the mid-year, June, July, May. CALDO subsidizes the cost of studies. So Brian, unfortunately, CALDO does not provide any money. We don't deal with the scholarships or any sort of financial assistance at the time being. However, our universities, they do. So if you are considered to be an academic outstanding student, it might be possible that a supervisor will allow you some research funds for you, and through that way you don't need to pay for your studies. Hi, Isa. Hello. When I can apply to a master degree, which are the months to apply? So I've talked about this. It's usually January, February to start in September, or then May, April, June to start in January. But once again, we always need to confirm this with the specific program that you're interested. So Rosario, I studied 7 weeks on Quadi Institute, Xavier University, English program. Does it help with English requirements? So Rosario, usually if you haven't done one of the tests that the universities require, even if you studied English, that is not enough. So usually If you have studied, that's a good thing because it will prepare you to do the test. But that's basically how it is you still need to do the test. Do you know something about the scholarship Veneer? So the Veneer Scholarship is a scholarship that it's a very prestigious scholarship in Canada. And for you to apply to the Veneer Scholarship, I believe that you need to be enrolled in the university. So, and you will need to be recommended because the scholarship involves a high amount of money per year. So it's a recommendation scholarship for which usually it's the professor at the university that recommends the student. So just Roberto, so I'm a bit confused. If I send the application to CALDO before the 15th, it does not count as the deadline for the university. Do we need to submit one application to CALDO and one to the university? So Roberto, that's basically how it works. So when you submit an application to CALDO, you can submit to all of the 9 universities at once, if you wish so. So once the universities come back to you, and once they say if they accept you or not, then you need to formally register in the university of your interest. Okay, so the CALDO process is a process that assists you in choosing the university that best fits you or the university that accepts you. Okay, after that, you will need to formally register in that university. Okay, so but the big advantage is that by coming via CALDO, you don't need to pay to know that at least you are able to get a supervisor, nor to know that you meet the minimum requirements to gain admission. Okay, Brian, you need to have some research. So if you're applying to a doctoral program, if you have some published papers, obviously it will help. If you have some experience with research, it will help. For a master program, probably you don't need to have a research done in the past. Obviously, if you have, it's always a good thing, but it's not as relevant as the doctoral program. Roxana, my name is Roxana. My question is, how long the processing for a master in which these universities are in English? So, Roxana, the only university that is not in English is Laval, so all the others are English. Ottawa is a bilingual, so you have programs in French and in English. How long does it take the process? So usually, from the moment that you submit an application to CALDO, usually it takes 3 weeks for you to have an answer. After that, once you register at the university, it depends on if you have all the documentation that you need to finalize the application. So it can take 3 to 4 weeks. It can take more. It also depends on the times when the departments assess the applications. But as a rule of thumb, always aim for between 3 to 4 weeks. Okay. So Paula, could you give me an email to ask about undergraduate programs? Paula, you can send undergraduate requests to the same email. However, our services are not as specialized in undergraduate because the undergraduate programs it's a different process and we don't deal with those. But we can definitely forward you to one of our universities if we are not able to answer your questions. So Roberto, most of the programs that I'm interested have a deadline of January the 31st. Is that okay? So this is what I was mentioning. A lot of the deadlines are by by the end of January, beginning of February. So if the deadline has passed, you can still send your application and probably the university might still be able to review it. But you will probably not gain admission to start in September. Okay, so you might still be able to start, for example, in January. So you need to understand that even if the deadline has passed, you can always sort of initiate the procedure to apply to the next entry stage. So it's usually either September or then January of the next year. If I have a CAI certificate, can I study in the university? Asks Danielle. So Danielle, the CAI certificate might be accepted by some universities, but it's not as guaranteed as the TOEFL. So eventually what you can do is you can contact us and send your certificate and we will see if the university accepts it or not. Fritz, Paulo, currently I focus on my statement of research interest for Queen's University. When I will finish, I would like to send you in order to review thoroughly before to apply to the CALDO website. Sure, Fritz, you can send me your statement of research. Due to the high amount of students, we are not obviously able to read them all in detail, but we can always send you a template with several instructions on how to best create a statement of research that will be able to assist you. And obviously, we also are able to just read it and have a general idea of what your intention are, and to see if that meets the minimum requirements to send to a supervisor. So, Rosario, you're welcome. Thank you so much for participating. Brian, I'm studying English for Pronabec Peru, but my classes end March 2017. Is it possible to apply? So once again, Brian, the admission is a sort of a circle. So if you miss one, you will get the other admission phase. So my recommendation for you is always, if you're interested, send us an email. And even if you're not able to start in September, you can always start in January of next year. If you finish in March, then you will probably most likely be able to start in September if the university is able to issue a conditional ladder. So another topic that I can introduce is the conditional ladder. So when you receive letters from universities, they can either be unconditional, so it means that you meet all the admission requirements and you're good to start your program, or it can be a conditional letter, meaning that you are still pending some things that are relevant for you to be able to start your program. Among those things might be the English. So if you, for example, don't meet the minimum requirement for the English, but you meet all the other requirements, the university will issue a letter saying that this student is admissible for this program, but before starting classes, he still needs to present a certificate for which he shows that he meets the minimum requirements for English. Okay? Victor, I want to know what are the requirements exempt to go to Canada. I'm from Peru. So Victor, usually, and I'm talking about the graduate side, so masters and PhDs. Usually what you need is to have the transcripts from your bachelor program in Peru. So for example, let's imagine that you studied mechanical engineering. You will need to send a document where it states which grades you had on that, for all the classes, for all the courses that you undertook. That is a letter that is a document that it's usually issued by the university, and if it's not issued in English, you will need to seek translation for that. Okay. The other thing is the English test that we have talked about, and those are usually the documents that you need. Okay. Then you will need your CV and the statement of research. Roberto, would you mind clarifying again the service CALDO regarding the application? I still have to apply via the procedure of the institution. So, Roberto, the application via CALDO does not replace the application via the university. So, like I mentioned, the application, or the best way to put it is, through CALDO, you do a pre-application. Okay? So, via CALDO, you are being pre-assessed. And then, if that pre-assessment states that you are eligible to apply to a specific university because you meet the minimum requirements, and the supervisor from that university accepted you, which is awesome, then you need to formally apply through the website of the university that you are interested in. Okay? So it's this two-stage modality that you always need to follow. Raiza, what is the content of the letter? I'm sorry, Raiza, what letter are you referring to? The admission letter? If it's the admission letter, it's basically a letter from the university that states that you are able to, that you have been accepted in the program. Okay, so it basically states that your name, It states the university, and it states the program, and it tells that the person was accepted in the program, and that studies will start in, let's imagine, September 2016, and then it's basically signed by an official of the university. So Rosario, that's a good question. If there is an example of a CV, how many pages should it have? Yes, the Canadian CV, and specifically the academic CV. So the CV that you should prepare is what it's called the academic CV. So you don't need, for example, to state personal information. You don't need to put any picture. It's just basically information about your academic credentials. If you have published articles, or if you have any sort of research experience. Okay. So our time is coming to an end. So it's 7:30. I have answered, I believe, all the questions that you mentioned. I would like to thank you all for attending this webinar. It has been very good for me to have the chance to clarify all these questions, all these answers that you asked. We will be sending you the presentation, okay, for your email, and feel free to send me emails with questions that you may have. And usually by email we are able to clarify a lot of things, and hopefully assist you in applying to our universities. So just sure, Rosario, if you have work experience that is relevant, mention it in the CV. Yeah, definitely. So Brian, just the last answer, Brian. I'm a graduate chemical engineer. I'm studying industrial engineering. There will be a problem to implement two programs. Well, as a rule of thumbs, when you're applying to a master's or a PhD, as long as you're applying to a program that it's related to something that you studied before, it's fine. But if you're asking if there is a specific program that combines chemical engineering with industrial engineering, I would need to do some research on that, because I'm not entirely sure that there is such a program at our universities. Okay, we definitely have both, but not in the same program. Okay, so thank you so much. Enjoy your evening in Peru and Ecuador, and we'll be in touch in case you need to send me an email. Okay, thank you so much, and see you next time.